One of the greatest additions to Monster Hunter World, Iceborne Fulgur Anjanath definitely cements itself as I would have to say, probably a true Tyrannosaur. Even more so than Tiger Rex and Devil Joe, which are somewhat based off Tyrannosaurs in their own way, but in a different capacity. However, why is Fulgur Anjanath an invasive species? Well, today we're going to talk about that. But first, let's really talk about diet, as a diet with a creature can actually infer why it travels to go after such large prey. Or at least why does it invade other territories to go after prey. One such prey item in the Hoarfrost region is Enteca. Enteca may not seem like a very ideal choice for Fulgur Anjanath, but in Monster Hunter Rise, we do see Gos Harang, who probably has a much bigger dietary habit than Fulgur Anjanath, go for Enteca. So they do provide some nutritional value in a certain amount of way. However, this may not compare to their other brethren, the Popo. Now, Popo is kind of like the bread and butter of the Arctic area. They're so numerous and so various that they pretty much have every predator on their bumper. It's almost not fair. They got Barioth, Tiger X, Gos Harang, Luna Garen, Zamtrios, Blangonga, all right, Kezu. They have so many other predators that even some bird wyverns even go for them, okay? They don't really get a break there, and Fulgur Anjanath is no exception. However, I do think there is a slight part of Tyrannosaur behavior when it comes to this dietary. Now, at first, I thought Albertosaurus or Lythronox would definitely represent Fulgur Anjanath here, but I really have to digress when it comes to this kind of thinking here, because this is actually more of a Daspletosaurus. Yeah, I would definitely say Anjanath definitely represents the Daspletosaurus way more than any Tyrannosaur. And here's why, right? Daspletosaurus in some cases, in some locations, it has showed that it could niche partition, right? With niche partitioning being you're specifically going after a certain prey item to avoid competition. And more or less, I do think the more robust and tougher Daspletosaurus would go after the ceratopsians than the smaller and faster dinosaurs like the hadrosaurs, which I do think would have probably belonged to Gorgosaurus, who shared the same space as it. But it's not to say on occasion it couldn't get a good ambush off on these hadrosaurs in order to take them down. But it's just very more likely it preyed on much more tougher and robust prey that would have been inaccessible to its competition. And this seems to be the same way Anjanath in general actually thinks here. Its normal counterpart is able to prey on Great Jaguars, Tobikadachi, Puki Puki, and the Aptonoth. However, Aptonoth is kind of more accessible than some of the other creatures like Puki Puki and Tobikadachi. Even in the desert, it's able to prey upon the likes of Geratodus, and as we saw in Rise, it was going to eat a Barroth, meaning that Barroth is pretty much food for Anjanath. But what about Fulgur Anjanath? What does it really have to eat in the Arctic? Now, first off, Beotodus. I do believe the Piscean Wyvern is definitely a good meal and definitely a creature that Fulgur Anjanath would eat, right? I don't really think there's any exception to say that Beotodus wouldn't be preyed upon by a Fulgur Anjanath. It has the strength, it has the electric jaws, and it has the senses to basically find any hiding Beotodus pretty much trying to hide in the snow, being able to dig it out or basically pry it out of the snow with its jaws, slamming it or pretty much crushing its windpipe, and then bon appetit, you got yourself a nice Arctic seafood meal, right? So Beotodus, in my opinion, is definitely food for Anjanath. However, Viper Tobikadachi is not. You want to say, okay, well, wouldn't Anjanath be able to eat Tobikadachi? I would have to say at one point maybe, but currently no. You see, Tobikadachi species have an anti-predator mechanism. This would be their spikes and what they secrete with those spikes. Regular Tobikadachi secretes a very powerful paralyzing electricity, while Viper Tobikadachi secretes poison. It's better off not being eaten altogether or better off not being targeted when you can simply just poison your opponent and simply defend yourself with poisonous quills and eventually lead your opponent down to a slow death. It's very possible Fulgur Anjanath may smell the poison and just leave like most other predators who don't have poison resistance. However, the prey item I think Anjanath may specialize in taking down is Bonboro. It would make the most sense, and here's why, right? Bonboro is also an invasive species. While some of the locations don't really make sense for it, Bonboro being an invasive species and Fulgur Anjanath following Bonboro to predate upon it regularly seems more likely. It's robust, it's built, and Fulgur Anjanath is a robust and built creature, capable of tackling and taking down creatures like Bonboro for whatever it needs. Okay, both males and females, but it's very possible that they may specialize in taking down males. How it would do that is with these electric jaws. These electric jaws also secrete a paralyzing agent along with them, and it may be able to, stop the muscle synapses or, the synaptic nerves within its opponent's body, basically causing muscle spasms and pain, allowing Anjanath to get a fully good, bite around the Bonboro's neck, being able to pin it to the ground, and eventually crush its neck or suffocate its windpipe like any other Tyrannosaur, right? However, I do think that on some occasions, Bonboro would lose to a male, Fulgur Anjanath would lose to a healthy male Bonboro. So it's very possible it preys on the sick and weak, or the very young, like most carnivores do. However, let's talk about the locations that these two would probably overlap and then begin to prey on each other. The first one is the ancient forest. While I don't think it's an ideal place for Arctic creatures, it does provide some level of humidity to go with it. Plus, Bonboro seems to eat plants, wood material, and maybe on occasion bone marrow, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Wildspire waste. Nah, I just don't see that really benefiting. I really don't. It's too hot and it's too humid. I kind of think that's kind of the game, messing up here. But I digress. Let's talk about the Rotten Veil, right? Bonboro comes down here and actually eats the bone marrow, maybe even getting a little bit of meat and insects along with it. This means that these guys kind of do have a little bit of, some of that predatory instinct within them. However, Fulgur Anjanath, following its prey regularly, would take any chance it could get to eat a Bonboro or maybe any creature similar, such as a Rattlebon or maybe even a TTT Yaku. And this is where we get to the Coral Highlands, which makes the most sense for both these creatures. It's a aquatic atmosphere. The area is pretty much lined with moisture and water, keeping these guys cool and somewhat warm on a regular. They would have a balanced temperature here. Plus, Legiana flying overhead and sometimes dusting off its ice would also provide a cool atmosphere for these Arctic creatures. Legiana itself is also an Arctic creature, so I think it's fair and safe to say here that Bonboro and Fulgur Anjanath could easily exist in these environments here. Now you might say, why would Anjanath constantly follow Bonboro? And honestly, it's very simple. It specializes in taking down this prey item. Now, sure, it could definitely follow any other creature, something like Popos or the Enteca, maybe even Beatotis, or even the Cortos. But the thing is, Fulgur Anjanath these predators have a specialization. It's kind of like insectivores or piscivores. They specialize in hunting these specific creatures in order to maintain their diet. Now, in terms of competition for that prey item, Deviljho is really not. And I do think Deviljho may overlap with Fulgur Anjanath just as much as it does with Tigrex. This is due to the sheer fact that Deviljho doesn't really have any problem preying on any creature it comes across. However, it may even try to predate any injured Fulgur Anjanaths that are injured from a fight with Bonboro and failed in killing it. All right. In the Coral Highlands, Legiana is not too much of a competition. However, Odogaron is, being able to possibly bully Anjanath off of any carcass because it packs the power. Legiana likely specializes in dealing with more, aerial, maybe even smaller prey as well. However, its, male counterpart, Shrieking Legiana, does kind of throw the wrench in that mix here, but it's very possible that, Legiana will eat a Kora Puki Puki and Palumo, as I discussed in my Legiana video. Now, Odogaron is a very big problem for Fulgur Anjanath as a whole here. It's got the jaws, the speed and agility, faster reflexes, and its bite force can penetrate the hide of an acidic Glavenus, which is tougher than a regular Glavenus. So I'm putting more of my money on Odogaron winning that fight, especially since it has the much more powerful jaws, and if it gets a good bite in, that's going to be lights out for any type of predator that doesn't have any sophisticated armor. However, while Odogaron may even kill and eat a Fulgur Anjanath, I don't think it's its major problem. These two are its major problems, Barioth and Tigrex. Both of them have no problem killing and eating competitors. It's even stated that Tigrex isn't really afraid to even eat other predators as well. This may even include, Barioth itself if it wasn't also on Barioth's menu. So it's very possible that Tigrex is capable of killing a Fulgur Anjanath and eating it as well. However, Fulgur Anjanath would probably be too much of a fight for it, and Tigrex would probably just run it off rather than eating it. However, any injured Fulgur Anjanaths from any previous confrontation with predators or any other Anjanath would definitely provide a good substance. Barioth, yeah, it's definitely going to eat it. Barioths are known to even ambush the likes of Devil Joes and eat them in the New World. So a successful ambush on something that's Elder Dragon level should tell you something about how, capable Barioth is. Being able to ambush and even take down a Devil Joe, it's no doubt going to be able to take down a Fulgur Anjanath. Even in winters where some of these monsters do hibernate, Barioth can be a simple and very big problem for it. So Anjanath pretty much has a very adequate life as a whole when it comes to monsters. And as for being an invader, I definitely think it does have to do with Bombaro moving from ecosystem to ecosystem, and Fulgur Anjanath simply follows it as a result here. However, you might be asking, why didn't I mention Shrieking Legiana as a problem? Simply put, here is, I don't think Fulgur Anjanath is dumb enough to go near a Legiana nest. Any young Legiana would probably be picked up by the parents if they were, if they have fallen out the nest or somehow waddled away from it, So any younger, Legiana that would be probably pretty much preyed upon by a Fulgur Anjanath very easily would probably be immediately rescued by any one of the males in close proximity. However, if Fulgur Anjanath is fast enough to get one, it could have itself a nice little, icy snack here. So in conclusion, what do I really think about Anjanath? I do think being an invader in some areas just doesn't make sense. The only areas I would actually accept are the Rotten Vale and the Coral Highlands because they can actually keep him cool. All in all, I do think Fulgur Anjanath definitely cements itself as a Dyspletosaurus rather than a Tarbosaurus, an Albertosaurus, or even a Lythronox in that regard. So, in conclusion, I do think Anjanath is an invader due to Bombaro. But that's going to be all for today, you guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe, and share it with your friends. This is Legendary Grimlock, and I'll see you guys later for the next ecology video. Peace.